Our final of the 3 stages is Future World, which contains many of the enemies we saw in the Clock Tower level, the moles and the electrified mice. Be careful while making your way up to avoid the moles as they do pop out of the ground. As for the electrified mice, here we're going to have to actually wait for him to stop electrifying himself so that we can launch one of the crates at him. These enemies can be annoying. Do your best to avoid them altogether, as they do have a rather large radius on the screen, so it's hard to jump over them completely. So either take them out with one of the crates, or just avoid them by jumping on higher platforms to get over them. In the next area, there's a few mechanical dogs to jump over as we make our way over to the next boss of the game. This boss is a giant construction worker on a giant crane. When he drops down the wrecking ball, do your best to avoid it as it breaks rocks apart on the ground. The left rock will land on the ground for you to pick up and be able to throw it at him. Usually what I like to wait for is for him to go all the way back to the right and then he does a full charge quickly to the left. As you can see, the far tire cannot hit you when you land on it. So, I usually wait till about that when it's about to hit me, then do a jump in the air and launch the rock at him since you can't throw the rock through the ball or chain. Thankfully, getting the projectile from this boss is rather easy and it shouldn't take you nearly as long as the last boss to defeat him. So now we've finally gone to Fat Cat's lair, found a secret passage there, and it's time to track him down and defeat him once again. This stage is full of conveyor belts that we're very familiar with in platforming games. The slingshot mice from the previous stage do make their return. Once again, like I said, they are pretty big on screen, and sometimes jumping over them, especially with conveyor belts, can be a little bit challenging. In this area, take your time jumping from platform to platform as the conveyor belts will cause you to move slower or quicker. There's lots of these bird enemies flying overhead, and they shouldn't be a problem as long as you stand still on any of the platforms, as the birds should be able to fly over your head. So as long as you don't jump into them, you shouldn't take any damage from them. In this area with the conveyor belts, wait for the lasers to stop and then quickly jump along the conveyor belt in order to avoid getting fried by those lasers. This area can be a real pain as the machines move back and forth launching different green balls in your direction. Knowing whatever the best spot to stand is as the projectiles bounce around the room is going to be crucial to get through the area without taking too much damage. Thankfully though, the area is rather short. Next up, we have a long room filled with a spelling of the word danger, filled with all the Rescue Ranger emblems that you can pick up, making your way through. When you reach the end, it's time for the final showdown with Fat Cat. However, this time we don't actually get to fight Fat Cat, we have to fight this giant Fat Cat robot. As the lights go out, the Fat Cat robot will emerge. This boss is rather tricky, and may take a few seconds to get the hang of actually doing damage to it. There's several different parts of the body you can actually hit. The machine will fly into the air, and once he does, a ball will fall down. It's a time bomb, and you can see it has 3 seconds on it. He then lands. You then have to wait for the right time to launch it at him so that it explodes on him when the timer hits 0. If it doesn't explode on him, it'll bounce right off him and won't do any damage to him. So getting down this timing is going to be tricky. Hitting him on the right side is rather easy, as you can just launch it at his shoulder. However, when you're on the left side of him, you actually, when you're throwing, you're going to have to take out his arm first. The little hand on there can actually detach and attack you. So you're going to launch the ball at the left hand in order to actually hit it. As you can see, when I hit it there, no matter if it exploded or not, it still did damage. And in order to make a direct path to the face of Fat Cat's robot, we're going to have to take out that hand. The only other perils to deal with are a couple electrical sparks that will come out from time to time, and those are really easy to dodge. He then has a ball that will bounce around that you'll be able to go under it to avoid it. As long as that hand is still alive, it will detach from time to time and try to come after you, so do your best to avoid that. This boss is rather long, and it's taken a lot of patience in order for us to get through it and actually complete Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers 2. Now that that left hand has finally been defeated, I now have a direct shot at his face, so when I get the next bomb I'll be able to launch it into his mouth and do damage that way. After a certain amount of damage has been done to him, a bunch of screws will fly off of him, and you will see that he actually loses about half of his armor. This means you're about halfway through this battle. After he has been damaged enough, he will start to throw a little bit of fire in your direction, which is really easy to dodge as you'll be on the far side away from him. Once you finally see some more screws coming out of him, he explodes once again, and we have finally defeated him and completed Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers 2.